Hello everyone, my name is Rafal and I would like to welcome you to another episode how I create this headshot. And today I just want to talk about this image. I've shot this a long time ago, but I think it's very interesting and I really like this image. And there's a lot of thoughts which actually went into this. So I just want to actually just break this entire process, how I've created this image, and basically give you maybe some new ideas how you guys can create some of your headshots. So we're gonna again break this whole thing to small pieces. I'm gonna talk about my lighting, I'm gonna talk about how I create even this background. I'm gonna also go through my entire settings, gear, and then at the very end we're gonna talk about the retouching process. This retouching process was quite complex. I have to play a little bit with colors to make this image look the way it looks. There's a lot of things which I had a hard time to figure it out, but after a while working on this image I actually just come up with this final picture. So let's jump into behind the scenes and let's talk a little bit about how I even create this whole thing. So basically the background was created from artificial flowers. We basically kind of wrapped them around the wire and we kind of put this whole thing together. As you guys probably can notice, there are flowers with different colors, different patterns. There was someone who was helping me creating this, so we had a hard time how we kind of approach this. The one thing which I was really worried about was the patterns, because the colors itself it's really easy to change in Photoshop, which I did, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later. But I just want to have something which going to kind of stand out. So we put this whole thing together and took a little bit of time. We basically spent at least a couple hours to basically putting this whole thing in one piece. And then as you guys probably can see it, we had those copper pipes which we actually attached this background to it, just so this whole thing looks kind of stable and we can get our model very close to it, because that was my original idea. I just want to create a headshot where basically the person is coming out of those flowers. The one thing also what I want to mention here is whenever you guys go to any places such as Michael's or Walmart or Home Depot, whoever sells those artificial flowers, they're fairly expensive. So probably the best bet to get them would be Amazon. They have a lot of deals. They sell them in bulks. Also, you can kind of pick up the specific flowers you're looking for with specific patterns, with specific colors. So again, it's quite challenging when it comes to purchasing this whole thing, because that might end up being quite expensive. But also there's a dollar stores, there's some places where you guys can actually figure out how you guys can get them. Maybe you guys can kind of buy them and return them. I don't recommend this, but if you don't gonna destroy them and you're not gonna actually harm them, and especially they are artificial, so this is probably something which you can also consider to do. When it comes to lighting, it was very simple. I used only one light, and I used my Elinchrom Deep Octa 39 inches, the big one, and the light was about 2 meters away from the person and was actually in the 45 degrees angle straight at the front of the model. I want to make sure that the light also covers the background. As you guys probably can see, the person is basically stick into the background, so I didn't have to kind of worried about the bokeh and all the stuff like that, because I wanted to make sure that the flowers also they're going to be visible, they're going to be sharp, and they're going to be basically part of this image. So that was something very important for me. And also I used my silver reflector just to bounce the light a little bit and fill some of those shadows. The background itself was about 2 meters wide and also 1.5 meter high. I could definitely use smaller one, but I didn't know how this whole thing is going to work. So basically we've decided to go with a little bit bigger background, so I want to make sure I get this entire background basically into the frame. So the light power was 1/16 of the power. I want to make sure that the light is very strong, because we're going to talk about the settings. I was shooting that image at f5.0 because I want to make sure everything is basically sharp, including the background. So that was the reason behind I actually use a little bit higher power of the speed light, so there's enough light not only to cover the person, but also cover the entire background. And that was pretty much everything when it comes to setting this whole thing up. And when it comes to the lighting, pretty straightforward, nothing complicated, and basically we got into the shoot and we start actually shooting. So let's talk about the gear and settings. So again, as you guys probably know, I'm using my Nikon D800. This is my favorite camera. I really love this. I've been working with this camera for years now. I'm not planning to change it at this point. We'll see. It's still working, still actually just producing amazing images. I'm gonna probably try to stick to it as long as it's not gonna break on me. Again, I was using my Nikon 70-200 VR2 lens, pretty standard, and also I used the Nikon SB910. I also put here SB800, but in this particular case I use only one light, and that was the Nikon SB910. Electron Deep Octa 39 inches, the big one. And then let's talk about the settings. So as you guys probably can see, I shot this a little bit wider, 155mm. That was the reason behind it. I want to make sure I include entire background into the frame, and that's why was the main thing. I was shooting that wide. Usually I'm shooting between 170 up to 200mm. The shutter speed 1/25 of the second. And then this is what I was talking about. I was shooting at f5.0. I just want to make sure that the flowers are very, very sharp, and that's why I was shooting actually that high. ISO again 100, pretty standard. And then white balance I was shooting at 5000 Kelvin, and I set that up manually. Okay, so let's go into the actual image. So this is what you guys see right now. This is final image, and this is actually after editing. And let's go how the image look like actually straight from the camera. So as you guys probably can see, different colors. The flowers were just, I would say, all over the place when it comes to the color. There's a blue, there's purple, there's red. And when I actually look at this image, I thought there's just too much going on when it comes to the colors, and you have a hard time to actually focus on the person's face. And I just want to make sure that the flowers have some kind of consistent color, consistent tone, so the person's face is gonna stand out. And we're gonna actually just get into the color toning, and that was one of the most difficult part of this, because I wasn't sure what should I do, because already this image looks fairly good, but I found that there's just too much going on, and I want to make sure that this image have something which kind of stands out and has some kind of consistency when it comes to the tone and color, and just looks much more pleasant to look at. Okay, so let's kind of go through the entire retouching process. So the first step, basically, again, I actually went through just a general cleaning. So she had a pretty good makeup, as you guys probably can see. So I just clean up a little bit from her eyes. She had little pimples here and there, so I just kind of removed that. Nothing big of a deal. I just want to make sure that the most obvious stuff are pretty much just removed. The next step was dodge and burn, and in this case I was working mainly on her skin. As you guys probably can see, the skin, there is some redness, there's some issues on her neck, so I actually just want to make sure clean up all this stuff. I didn't do anything literally to the flowers. At the beginning I was just mainly working on her skin and just make sure that the person looks good. Okay, so the next step was color toning, and again I just work on her skin. You guys probably can, there's not much done, it's just a little bit. And then actually I just went into the second stage of working on the colors. So basically I've done pretty much just a little bit work on her skin, and also I just want to make sure that I add a little bit of contrast into the image, so it's gonna pop a little bit more. So that was the toning, and then I work a little bit tiny on the colors. And the next step, I went into the camera raw, and this is where the challenge started, because I just want to make sure that this image stand out, and I started working individually on each particular color. And if you go to filter, and when you go to the camera raw filter, then basically you can, in that basically filter, you can basically work individually on specific colors, and you can basically change them to whatever you want. And I started playing a little bit with this, and I was trying to kind of find something which gonna stand out. So I've decided to pretty much just change the blue into the purple, because I thought that's gonna complement the image. It's gonna kind of give some consistency, and in my opinion it looks better. I know some people are probably not gonna agree with me, but that was actually the direction I was going. And I know each person retouch and look at the image differently. I would like to hear your opinion, if you guys actually like this adjustment or you don't, you think I should kind of stick to the blue. But whenever I was just working on it, I just want to kind of make sure that the image has this little bit of actually consistency when it comes to the color. So that was the biggest challenge I found creating this image. The next step, I work on her hair. Again, there's not much going on. You guys probably can see there's a little bit of flyovers here and there, so I just clean it up just to kind of polish this whole thing. And I spent literally seconds to actually fixing those stuff. The next step, I did a little bit of liquefying. I found the hair was sticking out. There's no symmetry, so I've decided to actually just give the person a little bit more shape and create a little bit of, as I said, symmetry. Sometimes, as I said, it's challenging, but in this case there's not much to do, but I've decided to actually push a few things here and there to just kind of smooth out some of those angles. Okay, so the next step in this entire process, I found that there's a lot of dark spots in the background, because the flowers, they were not really, I would say, on the flat area. They were just kind of like there's a little bit of dimension to it. So basically I just want to make sure that some of those dark areas, they still have some detail. So basically what I've decided to do, I actually just create a dodge layer, as you guys probably can see, and I actually just open up some of those shadows, so the background looks a little bit more consistent and a little bit more bright. Okay, and the last step, I just went back into the color toning, and then still tweak a few things here and there just to kind of give this image the final actually color pop. And I just work on some little details, little shadows, and just so the colors, they have a little bit more saturation and a little bit of vibrancy. And this is just the kind of the final touch what I've done to create this image. So let's uncheck all those details here and see how this whole thing looked like before and after. So that was before retouching, and this is after. So the one thing what I want to mention here, I didn't do too much when it comes to working on the background itself. Basically I was just working on the colors and toning, but I didn't change the patterns. I didn't make the flowers bigger or anything like that. There's still a few things I could do, but I think the background itself was so interesting and it has so much richness and so much patterns. It's just the one thing what I was struggling with was the colors were just all over the place. So I hope you guys like this image. I would love to hear your opinion, what you guys think, how you guys would approach this whole thing. And then if you guys have any specific questions, you guys know how to find me, and please feel free to contact me, and I would love to hear either your questions, or I would like to kind of hear your feedback, your opinion. I would like to see how you guys actually take and how you guys look at this entire process. So again, thank you for watching. I hope it was interesting, and thank you again, and then I'll chat with you guys very soon. Bye bye.